Welcome back, everyone. This is Arafel playing one of the end bosses from Magical Bringer Korona. At this point in the story, Korona and Yuka join forces to fight off Noel, going into a pocket dimension to avoid damage to the surroundings. But Yuka's sword has some degree of sentience, has decided that Osiris is an enemy of peace and harmony and vowed to destroy him, and has possessed Yuka in order to do so. So now Korona has to fight her. Osiris is warning you, make sure to strike soundly, because if you don't, damage will be reflected by the mirror. So this is something of a novelty. You're fighting an opponent that has reflect, so if you miss your attacks, you take some damage. Fortunately, striking during normal attacks is really not an issue. Dodging, however, can be, because this sword has the ability to cleave space, which is how they made the pocket dimension in the first place, and so you get this effect. That's used in Korona 2 when you're fighting Rhyme and trying to hit her. However, in this battle it is used when you're trying to guard, which can make it rather difficult to avoid taking damage. Fortunately, Yuka's attack is unusually low. However, having difficulty dodging at all means it can add up pretty quickly. She is also easily the tankiest opponent in the game. There's a random air attack. Oh yes, I never quite explained that. So the way that energy and special rounds work in this game is your special rounds, like enemy special rounds, are just randomly determined when your turn comes up. It's a fixed chance that increases each time you fail to get one. Yeah, I'm gonna need to do better than that if I want a chance. I guess it's a fixed chance, increases each time you fail to get one. I think it works out to enemies get about, on average, 36 special rounds per 100 attacks, and Korona gets an average of about 32 per 100. So both are round 1 and 3, but enemies have the advantage. Yep, here's Korona Desperado, which is virtually identical to in Korona 2. But as I was saying, your special round determination in this game is completely independent of your energy gauge, with one exception. So basically, as you are connecting attacks, as you land melee attacks, your energy charges. It's normally 1% per hit. Oh, and here's one of Yuka's special attacks. The only one that is actually a threat. And I missed it. Basically, you have an attack that comes flying in out of nowhere. If your difficulty is high enough, which it is here, there's also a second one that's a feint. The feint does nothing except confuse you. If you correctly block the attack that's coming through, you don't take damage, of course. But if you do take damage, it's a big chunk all at once. But as I was saying about the energy meter, each melee attack you land will fill that up normally by 1% per hit. Yuka is actually an exception. It's actually 1.5% per hit against her, which is very useful, being that the energy bar charges your enter attacks. And enter attacks are the best way to fight Yuka, because she has, in addition to the large amount of health that all endgame bosses have, she also has the game's highest defense, which means you're doing less damage per attack, but enter attacks completely ignore defense. They're based solely on how full is your energy bar and how much maximum health does the enemy have. A fully charged energy meter will inflict 40% of the enemy's max health on an enter attack. If it's less than that, it's proportional to how full it is, so half full is 20%, etc. Unless you have attack modifier, like in the introductory battle against Noel, when you get that special event enter attack, you have attack X2, which means that your attacks inflict twice as much damage, which includes enter attacks, so that's 80% off. Which is why she goes from full to in the red immediately. Also, I failed to land a hit there. In this game, unless your difficulty is particularly low, failing to land a hit when the eye is open, which indicates it's trying to charge, will completely empty the meter out. So that's very bad to happen. You do not want to do that. Particularly in a battle like this, where you really, really, really want strong liner attacks. Okay, here's Korona Blaster. Same code as in the second game that translates to energy charge, target locked. And Blaster in this game works very much like it does in the second game, except that it always alternates two directions. You never get just one direction, you never get the spiral thing. Same with Noel's Tempest. See if she uses the other, much nicer vessel. Nope, this is this one again. Yuka has another special attack that boosts the power of her reflect. And I went for the wrong one. As I was saying, Yuka has another special attack that will boost the power of reflect, but if you don't miss, it doesn't matter. And you really shouldn't be missing, even though I did. But anyway, the key to this battle really is to charge up your own attacks, use that to take big chunks out of her health. And since it's charging faster than usual, that gives you all the more opportunity to use that to your advantage. Like there in just an ordinary normal attack round, 8 hits, that's 12% of the bar in this battle. Once your bar goes over 30%, the eye turns red, and you get a high chance of, during your special rounds, instead of getting one of your standard special attacks, you just get an enter attack. Yeah, have I mentioned I don't like the target point shifting around like that? It makes it very unpredictable. I do at least very much like the music in this battle. It reminds me of the same sort of style you get in, for instance, Inuyasha and Naruto, where you have the traditional Japanese style kind of instrumentation, some music, but you're also mixing in Western rock stuff. So you've got the electric guitar, you've got the drums. And at this point, we're reaching the end of the MP3. Starts up again from the beginning. Blaster, as usual, is 16 hits, but they are long-range, which means they're not subject to things like Reflect. They'll dispel Noel's hiding thing. But they also will not charge your energy gauge. On the other hand, they won't lose energy if you miss. It's only when the eye is open that you can lose energy, but it's also only when the eye is open that you can gain energy. So this probably is not going to last that much longer. I think what I'm going to do with the final bosses is basically what I did for Dark Korona. Is take an honest stab at it, and if I don't make it, just use Survivor, try again on an easier setting, and repeat if needed. Korona 2, I was doing the 2 tries in Survivor. But here, let's just keep things simple. Another interesting thing is, Yuka here displays as having the Defense X2 ability, which makes sense, it goes with the mirror and all that, but it doesn't actually have any gameplay effect for enemies. It's just there's a flag in their stats, basically, that says the double defense, and it affects the display, but it does not affect how much damage they actually take. She just has high base defense. Ah. Yeah, keep going for the wrong one. And they're coming in so fast you really have no time to react to it, which is the point. So anyway, as in Korona 2, you have the option to use Survivor or not. We're going to just go ahead and use Survivor. That will drop the difficulty by 20. That's probably low enough, I would think, that her special attack's not going to have a feint anymore. Check that. Yeah, that's added at 80, so minus 20 from anything below 100, which would have to be, will remove that. So there'll be just the one hit now, in addition to not being quite as fast or quite as powerful. So as I was saying with, the attack X, or defense X2 thing, that's a purely visual thing, it has no gameplay effect. Yuka is actually flagged as also having attack X2. Yeah, and you can randomly get enter attacks at the end of your normal attack rounds. I think that's the same in Korona 2 also. It's something like a 1 in 20 chance, I think. But yeah, that follows the same rules as any standard enter attack, it's just proportional to how full your energy bar is. This is still a pain. Oh yeah, so after 7 hits, that would be, in this battle, 10.5%. So a full bar is 40% of energy health, so at that point it would be a bit over 4%. It's not a lot, but it's more than a regular attack. Honestly, I probably would have been better off letting it go and charging up the meter more. Because that's something about enter attacks, is they're always optional. If you decide not to use an enter attack, you just let it go by, and it just goes by, there's no consequences. Even though the eye is open, that does not count against your energy gauge, it does not deplete it. You just don't attack. So as I mentioned in the introductory Noel battle, when you have that special enter attack at the beginning of the second try of it, you can just let that go, fight her normally, and the game will let you do that and even expects you to try it, because if you do, you get up to twice as much, well, you get twice as much as the maximum score gain if you fight using that. So if you're trying to raise your score, of course you skip that. Okay, here's the other special attack. And that has some neat visual effects, but all that really does is make her reflect damage increase. And really you shouldn't be missing attacks to begin with, so it doesn't matter. She's basically just wasted a turn. In other words, you want her to see her do that as much as possible. Anyway, Korona Desperado. This is very nice for charging your meter, especially in this battle. Yeah, normally it would take 30 hits to get to 30% for the eye to turn red. In this battle, things are charging 50% faster. So it only takes 20 hits. So far we're pretty even. As long as I don't make any major mistakes, this is winnable. And shouldn't be all that bad, really. I will take this. And bam, big chunk of health down. I'm guessing somewhere in the 15-20% range. So we're not quite to half. Normally you would have to wait for a special attack to come up and have that be the unnamed special that happens during the event enter attack in the Noel fight. Where you get the big red eyeball opening, the slashing effect, the blood splatter, the slash kanji, Zan. Much easier. It still comes at you fast, and it can come from either side, but when there's only one of them, you can see which thing you're going to have to be guarding against. You can see in advance what the timing is going to be. Not much in advance, but enough that you have a decent chance of being able to react to it. When there's two of them, you basically have to guess, and if you guess wrong, well, too bad. Again, Blaster, you alternate two directions. Unlike in Korona 2, where your own blaster is always a single direction repeating. Special round. And it's the useless one. Again, nice visual effects, but it doesn't really do anything worth mentioning. Yeah, you'll notice there's another icon on the top of her skills there. That one means Amplify. To indicate, of course, that her reflect damage is amplified. And it isn't even necessarily amplified depending on what your difficulty level is. If you're above 80, or 80 or above, it 5 times the damage from reflect. If you're 55 to 79, then it's double damage. But if you're under 55, it doesn't actually do anything at all. It's kind of a weird decision, but that's how the game works. Also, the way you dispel it is different depending on difficulty level. If you're below 80, then the next time Yuka attacks, it wears off. If you're at least 80, it only wears off on Yuka's attack round if you've attacked in the meantime. Basically, you have to attack to break her concentration. But either way, it's not that big a deal. And if you're worried about it at lower difficulties, you can just wait in the initiative round, let her get a turn, and it will wear off on its own. Okay, we're at about half charge, so if I get a Zan now, that will be about 20% of her health. I kind of wish I knew what that woodwind was called. You hear that a lot in traditional style Japanese music. Okay, 33 hits, gets about 50%. So that'll be 20% of her health. And yeah, that's your major form of offense in this battle. Just charge up your bar as much as you can, unleash it all at once, take off big chunks of her health. She does have some nasty offensive abilities between the special attack that actually matters and the target point on her attacks sliding back and forth on you. But they don't do all that much damage per hit. And of course she has the high health, high defense, all that, so this is really a battle of attrition. So again, your best bet is to use those inner attacks to make it not as much a battle of attrition. Okay, got through a whole round without getting hit. Okay, it's this again. Okay, and checking my notes, if you come into this battle at the highest difficulty possible, it takes 500 normal attacks to win, if you don't do anything else. So you very much want those inner attacks to speed things up. On the other hand, she has to hit you 33 times with normal attacks for you to lose. Which may not sound like a lot, but for an end boss, it's an awful lot. And the special attack she does that actually hurts is roughly equivalent to 6 or 7 of those. So it's still a decent chunk of hurt, but it's not that bad. It's mainly the all-or-nothing nature of it that makes it seem like a big deal. Where even with the most brutal attacks anyone else throws at you, it's multiple hits, you can block part of it, even if you mess up other parts. Electric guitar comes in. Mentally, I kind of think of the Japanese instruments as representing Yuka's sword there, Garyou, with the lower electric guitar representing Osiris. And we're just about done. And then at some point we have electric guitar starts playing the melody, and that feels like Korona to me. Anyway. There's a good chance this will do it. Yeah, here. This part of the music. And that's victory. The sword is shocked and displeased and cracked, and Osiris is like, good grief. Know your place, basically. And the sword shatters and falls to pieces. And at this point, you go into the ending sequence. Yuka's okay. Osiris ends up repairing the sword, and everything's basically back to normal. So anyway, this has been Arafelon playing Magical Bringer Korona, demonstrating the end boss of the Yuka route. Come back next time and we will do the Subaru route's end boss, and you can probably guess who that is.